Hello, today it's all about dogs with a certificate in basic animal care science. And I'm here with Sue Kelly, who's a tutor of vet nursing at SIT, and friends Cooper and Rupert, is it?
That's right. Hi, Martha.
How are you today?
Good, and yourself?
Good. Can you tell us a bit of a background of dogs?
Well, dogs have been around with man for millions of years, since the caveman days, where the legend says that the cavemen used to throw away all the bones and bits of meat that they didn't eat, and the dogs, being kind of scavengers, would come around and scavenge off the bones, and slowly they started becoming domesticated. And you'll see right through history how we have basically bred dogs to help us. And I don't know if you know, but they're known as man's best friend.
Yes. Why are they known as man's best friend? What makes a dog such a great pet?
Loyalty. Dogs are basically pack animals, and they want to belong to a pack. So when you or anyone gets a dog, that dog sees you as their pack. And they have to be loved and petted and given lots of attention to keep them happy.
Great. And this one looks pretty happy with his tongue out. What's a sign that your dog is well and happy?
Well, the first thing is the shiny coat. As you can see here, nice shiny coat, bright eyes. Cooper. Oh, she's looking out the window. Nice bright eyes and no discharges or anything coming out of the nose or eyes.
Oh, yeah. Great. So is there some breeds of dogs that are more intelligent than others?
Yes, definitely, and more intelligent and not so stubborn. If you get dogs with stubborn streaks, they're really hard to train, so you need to be really patient with those dogs.
Right. Yeah. And what sort of dogs would be more stubborn?
Well, the dogs that always come, well, I know one breed that always comes last in obedience is the bulldog.
Oh,
the
really?
English bulldog, the flat-faced one. Yeah, and he's basically from the utility group, and he was bred to fight bulls in the old days. Now, of course, we don't do that anymore, so he's become just more of a pet. But yeah, no, they're very difficult to train.
Gee, you never think dogs must have such a strong history as well.
Exactly, yeah.
It's interesting. Right. And what about this big boy over here? What sort of dog is he?
He's a bearded collie, and just another type of collie, also up in the pastoral care. He's Rupert, and he's only a year old, so you can see the size difference too.
Gee, a year old.
A bit bigger.
Come over here, big man. He's almost half horse.
Yes, this is me.
And so a big dog like this obviously would be an outside pet?
Yeah, although a lot of people would keep them as inside pets, but the main thing with large dogs like this is to make sure that they're exercised and well trained.
Right.
Because you'd hate to have this one bounding up to you and knocking your guests over and things.
Yes, so, definitely. Yeah. So how much exercise would a big dog like this need?
He'd probably need at least half an hour a day of a good brisk walk. And if you can, get him running around. Now, I know there's laws and things about not letting dogs off leashes and things around town, but you could take them out elsewhere and just let them have a good run.
Right.
Yeah.
I'm actually living with a dog at the moment. Don't know much about dogs, but is there actually a law you can't put them on, you know, keep them on leash all the time?
Especially in town areas.
Right.
Now, you know, dogs have had bad publicity in the last wee while with fighting and mauling children and things. But basically, my experience is a good dog normally has a good owner behind it. No dog is bad.
Yes.
It's just the way they're handled. But yeah, it is better to take him out to the country or even to the beach if you've seen them. But one thing that shouldn't be done, and I've seen this happen, is going down the beach and you see people driving in the cars and the dogs are running next to them.
You do see that a bit.
At the vets, well, what we notice is that suddenly the dog might do something and the car doesn't realise and run over their own pets that way. It's not a good way to train, you know, to give them exercise. Get out and walk or throw them a ball and play catch or something. But just be careful, yeah.
Yeah, you'd want to be. So what certain characteristics make dogs different from other pets?
Well, if we start at the front of the dog again, if you have a look at the nose over here, you see the long muzzle. Can you see that? Most dogs have got a fairly long muzzle except for bulldogs and those kind of breeds. But basically, they're very sensitive to smell. And they, for example, just give you an example, humans have about 5 million smell cells in our nose, whereas the average dog has 125 million.
Wow.
And the scent dogs have even more. So they can basically smell, I don't know if you know truffles, you know, the fungi, sort of mushroomy thing. They can smell truffles a foot under the ground. So that's how
Really?
sensitive their smell is.
Gee, that's amazing.
So that's one part which is quite different. The other thing is the eyes, and what's quite different about dogs is they're colourblind and they can't see as well as humans. So what they first of all notice is movement. Movement will get their attention,
Right.
and then brightness, and then shape. So that's how they see. So if basically if they can see better than us though when the light's not so bright, but in bright light they just see the movement more.
Right.
And shape of things. Yeah.
Oh, interesting.
Then if you come to the teeth over here, if you look at Cooper's teeth, you can see he's got nice long canines over here. Our canines aren't that developed unless you're a vampire, but these canines are basically used to, dogs used to hunt and their prey run away, so the canines actually hold them so they can't get away. And then, so that's why they have that. They also have, what are these things here, premolars, which basically tear the meat. And then they've also got molars at the back here, just like we have. And it just basically the teeth show that the dogs need not only meat but also vegetables in their diet because of their molars. Yeah. If you have a look at a dog's ears, now you'll notice that some dogs have ears that prick up, and those are normally dogs which can hear quite well. And then you get other dogs like spaniels and beagles and even the bearded collie there with the ears that are flopped down. And they basically are used, well, those type of breed of dogs are the dogs that normally go into bushes and thickets and stuff, so it protects their ears.
Oh, right.
So it just depends on the different breed of dog.
Interesting.
Yeah.
It's quite likeable, this wee one, isn't
He
it?
is, isn't he?
So what's the hearing like? Is it stronger than ours?
Yes, yeah. Especially with the breeds where the ears prick up because the noise is funneled in. But the dogs with flat ears or flappy ears are not as, can't hear as well.
Right.
But pretty good still, yeah.
What about dog whistles? So can they hear sort of at a different pitch
Yes,
to us?
definitely. And some of the pitches we can't hear, but they'll pick up. Yeah,
Right.
definitely.
That's very
That's
interesting.
right.
So how many different breeds of dogs are there?
Oh, there's a lot. I can't give you a figure, but each breed is basically broken down into different groups, and they all, if you look back, I'll give you an example. The toy groups, we call them pocket pets. Do you know? I don't know if you see Hollywood stars with these little chihuahuas. So, but those dogs are basically bought normally as cuddly toys, and when we see them again at vets, they're normally quite difficult and snappy and dominant.
They are, aren't they? They're always yappy wee dogs, aren't they?
Yeah, and I think it's because the owners don't realise they're not just a toy.
Right.
You know, they treat them like just a cuddly toy when they're actually quite intelligent and need the same amount of discipline and care as the larger breeds. So, yeah. And, that well, my experience, Yorkshire Terriers are the worst tempered. Very, very grumpy
Which
dogs.
ones are they? What do they look like?
They're little, small, long-haired, black and tan dogs.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Some of those wee dogs, for the size of them, they can let off a lot of noise,
Oh,
can't
yeah.
they?
Oh, yeah. And there's also another group, which is the terrier group. Do you know Staffordshire Bull Terriers and Jack Russell Terriers?
Yes.
Fox Terriers?
Yep.
Now, those guys, if you've ever had anything to do with them, they're pretty stubborn and they won't let anything go. They'll keep going, keep going. But that's what they were bred for. They were bred to flush out foxes and rats and pest animals out of their dens and rabbit warrens and things. So they had to be pretty brave to go in, and they still are. So, yeah, if you get a terrier as a pet, you're taking on a lot of work.
Right.
They are quite, people call them destructive, but they just need a lot of attention and exercise too. Yeah.
How interesting. Thank you very much, Sue, for your time.
That's okay.
And you too as well for being such good dogs. I'm with Sandy Cooper, who's a vet. How are you today, Sandy?
I'm good. I'm really great, actually.
Oh,
Thank you, Mel.
oh, good. And is this your wee dog?
This is our wee dog, Dizzy Ellie.
Oh, might be hard trying to get her to stay.
It's all right.
Can you tell me firstly, what's the most common complaints of dogs?
Probably one of the most common complaints is behaviour things, followed probably closely by dental problems. But I think from behaviour point of view, the biggest thing for people is understanding the dog. And that's why puppy preschools and dog training is just so important for people to actually come to grips with what's normal for a dog and what isn't normal, and how they should cope with them, so that they have just a fantastic relationship with their dog long term, because they're going to have that dog hopefully for 12 to 15 years, and you want it to be a really lovely family experience and not to be stressful at all, because family life's stressful enough sometimes without adding a dog into the equation, and one that's causing chaos in the house. So dogs need to know their place in the house and have their boundaries. So that's really important. So in that first year of life, we actually used to euthanise a large number of puppies in that, because of the fact that people didn't understand them, and there was chaos and the dogs behaved. People thought they behaved badly, but they didn't. The humans just didn't come to grips with what was going on. But that doesn't happen so much now, because we run puppy preschools and teenage classes and obedience training, so that people do understand what's going on, and it just makes life so much less stressful at home. But in the veterinary practices, we just notice a big difference. The dogs behave generally much better.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah, we're going to catch up with the dog trainer later on.
Yes.
So that'd be interesting. What is the average lifespan of a dog?
Well, it depends on the breed. I mean, dogs are very different, because if you get small dogs like Chihuahuas right through to St Bernards and Great Danes, and they're just so different. They might as well be a different species. They get different problems because of the breed, and they get different problems because of the size. So, I mean, it just makes such a big difference as to what sort of breed and what size of dog people have got, as to what sort of problems and things we encounter.
Right. Just out of interest, what size would you call this wee chap? Would he be a small or a medium-sized dog?
She's medium. Well, heading towards medium, but small to medium probably.
Right.
She's about 6 kilograms at the moment, so yeah.
Oh.
So small to medium, but
So how prone animals to illness and different diseases?
Well, they're very prone to all sorts of diseases, and the longer they live, the more chance there is, of course, of getting cancer. And cancer is not just in humans, of course, it's in animals as well. But also we got in dogs a lot of endocrine or hormonal problems, so it's quite common to see hypothyroidism and to see Cushing's syndrome, which are hormonal problems, and that, you know, we can treat relatively well, but it's upsetting for the people, and if they're left and not treated, then they are fatal diseases in most cases as well, and cause illness and problems for the dogs.
So what are some common signs that your dog's unwell?
Well, the fact that they're perhaps not eating, got vomiting and diarrhoea, sneezing, coughing, reluctant to go for a walk, maybe shedding a lot more fur. Obviously you can get the extremes like them collapsing, having fits, anything like that. But people need to be taking their dogs to their vet at least annually to have a check-up and their vaccinations. And it's important that they do have their vaccinations. And for the puppies, that means from 6 weeks of age on. And people forget that we have nasty diseases like parvo, where dogs die. And just last week we had 2 parvo cases in, because people had forgotten that how important it is to actually protect their dogs and prevent it. They're very preventable diseases, provided people do the inoculations.
How important is dental care for dogs?
Dental care is very important for dogs, and the interesting thing is that we can do a lot more to actually prevent getting really bad periodontitis and losing teeth prematurely. For small dogs, the incidence of gingivitis, which is just gum inflammation progressing to periodontal disease, which is where you get changes in the bone and the gums cause loosening of the teeth. It's just so important to be able to keep those teeth. Although they've got 42 adult teeth, every one of those we need to make count if we possibly can. So toothbrushing daily if possible, or at least 2 or 3 times a week, is really important, particularly for smaller breed dogs. And we've got a new vaccine, Periovac, which we can use to help prevent dental disease as well, or gum disease. So there's lots of things that we can do with treats. Some of the biscuits have got dental protective things in them as well. And it's a whole sort of multifactorial thing to try and keep their dental care right. But we've got lots more that we can do than we used to be able to do some years ago.
Oh, right, very interesting. And looking at diet for dogs, how often should a dog be eating a day?
We used to think years ago that they needed just fed once a day, and when I graduated it was quite common, particularly for farmers, to feed their dogs once a day or maybe every second day, and then it was just throw them some frozen meat and bones. Since then, there's been huge advances in nutrition, and so all the foods that we have are totally balanced, and they provide adequate nutrition, and they're balanced for the age and stage, so that for a large breed puppy, we've got foods that mean that their bones grow such that we don't get bone problems similar to rickets, and it's just such a difference to when I first graduated as a vet. I can virtually tell when a dog walks in the door what it's being fed, and it just makes such a difference, yes, to their health. Their overall health and longevity is just so important. But one of the biggest things we see are a lot of overweight dogs, so it's very important to try and keep the weight such that they're not too heavy. We see lots of tubby bubbies that are prone to getting heart disease and getting arthritis as a result of just carrying far too much weight. So it's important that we do advise our clients and help them make sure that the dogs are the right weight.
Yes. So is it true that dogs don't have a full point?
Don't have a...
They don't ever get full, that they'll just keep eating?
For some breeds of dog, yes, that's the case, Labradors, but otherwise most other dogs are very good at actually knowing their limits as far as food's concerned. So our general advice to clients is to put the measured amount of food down in the bowl and leave it there for 10 minutes and then pick it up and take it away. Don't leave a small spilk out for them to go back and browse all day. If I've got food left on the bench, I keep coming back and having a snack. So, and they should be fed twice a day, yeah. Right. And if they don't want it, then there's only two reasons why they don't want it. They're either not well or they're full. And that works for the majority of dogs. As I say, there are some exceptions like Labradors and some dogs who just don't know when to stop. But most dogs will eat what they need. And if they leave it, it's because they're full or they're unwell. It's very, very simple logic.
Yeah, exactly. Is there any foods that you should avoid feeding to dogs?
Yes, you should avoid lots of things in excess, but chocolates are particularly toxic to dogs and can cause them to be very ill and in the worst possible case die. Onions and lots of other toxic things. I mean, obviously there are things that, like rat baits and poisons that you should obviously keep out of the way of dogs, and slug baits at this time of the year with people gardening, but chocolates and onions are ones that really, really spring to mind as being something that people often have and think's fun to feed to their dog when it can cause some major problems.
Great, I'm keeping all of this in mind. So what's the key then to keeping your dog really healthy?
Feeding them correctly, making sure that their vaccinations are up to date and checking with your vet as to what they do need. You need to have an annual checkup with your dog at your veterinarian and go through exactly what your dog's going to need as far as protection is concerned for the year. I love you too, Ellie.
Oh, that's great. Thank you for that, Sandy. It's been interesting. I've been taking lots of notes.
That's fine. Thank you, Mel.
You might recognise Cooper and Rupert. Who are the other two dogs you've got with us today, Angela?
We have Charlie lying there and Steele lying down behind us, two of my other dogs.
Oh, are they good dogs?
Oh yes, they're pretty good boys, yeah.
Now we're talking about training today. What's the best time to get a dog trained?
The day you get it, it's irrelevant what the dog's age is. It's more important on the day that you get it, you want to start teaching the things that are going to be acceptable for you to live with your dog.
So do puppies learn better than bigger dogs?
There's advantages to training them. If you get them as a puppy, then start training straight away. And in some ways they're easier because they don't know anything, so you teach them. Older dogs are just as likely to be able to learn, but often you have to undo something that they've learned that you don't require.
Right. So can you teach dogs with bad habits new things?
Absolutely, you can. I'll tell you a story about Steele. When I got him, he liked to chase cars, run away, jump up and nip. A lot of things that just aren't acceptable when you live with me, when you're my dog. So we had to teach him, quiet, we had to teach him that chasing cars is not a game.
Right.
We had to teach him come back when you're called, all the simple things. And not to jump on me was a big one as well.
So how do you drum those things out of a dog?
I try not to drum out. Well, I'll use food treats and toys and making coming back to me a positive experience. so that he doesn't go, oh, why do I have to come back? What do you want from me? If he comes back and it's always a good thing, then the likelihood of him coming back again is increased by that, yeah.
Right. So do you think training centres are the best place for dogs to learn, you know, tricks and different things?
Oh,
and
absolutely. Yeah, well, what we do here at the Dog Training Club, we have obedience classes, we have agility classes, and we also do another sport which is called flyball. And they're all really good things to teach your dogs, but if you don't want your dogs to teach those, you can just come and get a basis to learn how to train your dog at home and then continue it for the rest of their life.
Right. And so what are some of the things the average person could train their dog to do at home?
You can teach simple things. Cooper, we'll just show you with Cooper. Come, high five, good boy, and reward it.
So that's all you do to teach him things. You've just sort of give him treats and reward him when he's
And
good.
rewarded him when he's good. Often, if they do something that I think is quite cute, I'll just praise them for doing it and then think of a word, and then the next time they do it, use the word and praise, use the word and praise, so they learn that word means repeat that action.
Right.
And often, yeah, I'll use we treats and things, just because it sweetens the deal. I wouldn't work for no pay.
Do you think it's the tone of the voice? Is that what they respond to?
The tone's really important. If you're going to make something that you want to repeat, a happy thing to repeat, then you need to sound happy about it. There's no point saying, good dog, because they'll think, oh, that's kind of growly, you know.
Yeah.
Dogs growl at each other to communicate. So growling is the same coming from me as what it is coming from another dog.
What about smacking bad dogs?
No, I don't believe in that. All it teaches your dog is that you're mean.
Yeah.
Rewarding's it's a lot better way to go, because
Positive,
you know, if you got growled for every wrong thing you did, you'd actually just stop doing anything for fear of the growl.
Right.
So it wouldn't actually increase a particular behaviour, it would just really stop them from doing anything that you do want.
Yeah. So something really simple like getting a dog to come to you, how would you do that? You know, sometimes you can call a dog and they just won't come. How do you initially get them to you to then reward them?
Depends on why they won't come back. In the case of a dog that often runs away, I gave Charlie a go command because I couldn't get him to come back. So there's no point me yelling, come, yeah, whatever. He wasn't listening. So every time he ran...
It's noisy?
Yeah. Every time he ran, repeat, down. Every time he ran, I'd tell him to go and just keep going and going and going. And then when he finally came back, I praised him for coming back.
Right.
And we had to do that with well-fenced area, obviously, so he couldn't get into any danger. And then now go is still his run command 5 years later.
Okay.
But if you can get them to do the opposite, you can get them to do the one that you do want.
Right. So I suppose there's a lot of different commands to suit different dogs.
It doesn't matter what word you use, so long as it's the same word every time. You could say bananas.
Yeah.
If you were going to use that every time, they don't care what the word is, so long as they associate the word with an action.
Ah. So how do you get them to pipe down to sort of shh?
He's just barking because I'm not paying any attention to him. But also, repeat, down. Good boy.
Gee, so they all do that
Stay.
pretty well. That was interesting how you did that. Is there anything you could show us a few tricks that they can do? Good things that you've trained them?
Good things that I've trained them. Charlie, 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 come here. Yeah. Down. Good boy. Charlie, come, sit. Good boy. Wait. He doesn't really do much, this dog. Charlie, here. Here, 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 here. Here. Sit. Good boy. Good boy. Go. That's about all his tricks.
Right. So, you know, little things
Come.
like, say for dogs, scratches or, you know, I'm not sure, furniture or something inside, instead of telling them off, you'd...
Just remove them from the situation, give them something else to do. This is just a towel with a knot in it that they've wrecked on previous occasions. And if they're going to go and wreck your couch, give them this. You're allowed to wreck this and teach them. You know, I want you to wreck this. And they might have heaps of toys and things as well that we've bought, tug ropes and chew balls and all sorts of things that they can that they're allowed to destroy if they want to destroy something.
Yeah.
Our dogs aren't allowed on the couch. If they do jump on, just take them by the collar, put them on the ground, give them a toy to play with. Just change the motivation, you know.
And does that work over time? They'll stop?
Oh yeah. The oldest dog that we retrained out of that was 13 years old. He'd been jumping on the couch all his life, his owners couldn't stop him. We had him for 3 days at our house, and every time he jumped on the couch, we just put him back on the floor, gave him his own wee bed and things, and rewarded him for being there. He went back home, and they rang up and says, we've never been able to get him off the couch. He took that behaviour that he'd learned at our house and took it home.
Really? That's amazing.
And he still doesn't jump on their couch.
So what do you think some of the things people usually do wrong is that they're telling animals off when they do wrong? That's the biggest thing.
Animals seek reward.
Right.
And if you reward, even though it might be negative by yelling, it's still a reward, it's still attention, it's still a reaction for doing it. So they just believe often that the way to get your attention is to do that behaviour that got it, so they'll continue to do it. If you stop rewarding that behaviour, eventually they will stop doing it.
Okay. Are some breeds of dog easier to train than others?
Oh, I'm biased. I'm a real Border Collie fan. I think they're really easy to train. I think where people go wrong is that they do use the negative ways of training, and the dogs end up learning things that people didn't even know they were actually instilling into them.
Right.
But I don't think there's any dog that can't be trained. They're all
Yeah.
capable of learning.
That's really reassuring to hear, isn't it?
Yeah.
What about calling time out? Like if dog's done something wrong, like, I don't know, go to the toilet inside, can you send it outside, put it in its kennels?
You can
something
send
like
it
that?
outside, but if your dog sleeps in his kennel, you don't want to punish him by putting him in his kennel.
Oh, true.
We have a crate at home that if the dogs don't go in the crate for any reason unless they've been, caught doing something adverse, and if they are caught toileting, like with puppies or dogs that just haven't been toilet trained, you can't punish them. We just take them outside. Mine all have a toilet command. I say toilet, they all
Right.
go. If they do have an accident inside, take them outside and reward them before going outside. Just ignore
Right.
anything inside. But if they're, say, caught on the couch, which they wouldn't be allowed to do that, in the crate and leave them there.
So you think for training a dog for toileting, that would be what you'd suggest?
Just
So if
take them outside and just reward them. Depending on the age of the dog, a lot of puppies need to go pretty much every time they wake up, every
Right.
time they've eaten, every time they've been playing, they need to go. They've only got tiny wee bladders and tiny wee bowels, so take them out as often as you can and reward them for going.
a lot of similarities to real little babies.
Yeah,
isn't it?
yeah, absolutely. Yeah,
That was really interesting. Thank you. Hopefully people would have learned quite a bit from that.
that's no worries.
You've been watching the Certificate in Basic Animal Care Science. Hope you've learnt a few handy doggy daycare tips. You'll have to join us next week when we look at fish. We'll see you then.